We'll start. Hi, Aviral.
Good evening, all.
Aviral, it's been a long journey and finally you have your admits. So tell us about your admits as well as your work experience.
I got admitted to IIM Calcutta for the PTPX program, which is a one-year full-time residential program for executives. And coming to my professional background, so I've been working in the field of business consulting for the last 5 years at EY, and I've worked with clients on majorly on projects for renewable energy, electric vehicles. So these have been my focus areas in terms of consulting. And then lately, for the last 2 years, I've been working in knowledge management team, where my major role is to support the client-facing teams in delivering their work and helping them out whatever issues they are facing with the client or during pursuit stage, whatever. That is all about my work ex.
Great. So Aviral, you chose to apply to the one-year MBA programs. Were there some very specific criteria that you chose the one-year programs?
First criteria was the reputation of the institution where I'll be applying. I only applied to the top institutions in India, which are IIM ABC, and I applied in ISB, their regular PCP program. From them, I got into IIM, and other factors which I considered while choosing is average work experience of the batch. In IIM Calcutta, IIM's ABC, in fact, average work experience is 7.5 years of the batch, and mine is 5 years. So I believe that it will be beneficial for me, that I'll get to learn a lot from my classmates during that 1 year duration. So that was another factor which I considered. Third factor was the companies which come for placement. If they are, what background they are from. Since I'm from consulting, I had to be sure that the companies who visit the campus, at least some companies are from consulting. Majorly, that are the key factors which I consider.
Great. And applying to the MBA, you have three things to handle. You have the GMAT, then you have the application, and then the interview prep. So starting with the first things first, how was the GMAT preparation for you while managing your work experience? So you were working at the same time. So how did you manage your GMAT preparation? And what would be your tips and strategies for people who are planning to write the
GMAT? So I opted for an online coaching. It had recorded video sessions. What my strategy was they were 1 hour recordings. Each lecture was of around 1 hour. So I used to take 1 hour lecture every day during the weekdays when I had to work as well. So in the night, I used to take those lectures. And on the weekend, I used to take one. So every Saturday, I used to take a mock GMAT test, and Sunday was for analyzing that test. This was essentially my strategy. With time, I found my weaknesses. I worked on them with the strategy. One of the key factors to consider here is to be regular. So this strategy initially excited, and since this is a repetitive task, people tend to not follow it for a long time. This needs a consistent effort and time and patience.
How many months should one keep before, starting with your applications? What would be a typical time for GMAT preparation?
It depends on individual to individual. At least 6 months before you should start preparing for the GMAT, and for application as well. At least 6 months time you should have, so that you have ample time to think. So in the applications, there are a lot of things you need to consider. You need to think about yourself. You need to explore yourself. So those things take time. If you have time, so you can do it effectively and in a better way. 6 months for both GMAT and application process. Although I know several people who do it in a much lesser time. I myself started my application around 3 months before sending out the applications.
We have to give so many wake-up calls, this thing is pending, let us just take it forward. It's always good to start early.
Yeah.
Right. So what was the application process like? What worked for you?
The process is similar for all the institutions. You have to take the GMAT first, then you fill up the application form. In the application form, there are 2-3 essays on your experience, on your weaknesses, strengths. Those essays are important. You have to prepare for them. So if your application gets selected, then You have to give the interview and then the result. So what worked for me in this application process, it's a very long process and every step requires, a lot of focus and a lot of work. What worked for me was, taking support from GOALisB. Without GOALisB, I couldn't have done it because the strategy they shared, it had so many questions, even small things were there. So that questionnaire forced me to, think about several things which I would have never thought of that this can be helpful in my application. A professional help is a must in the application because they know how how to go about it.
A lot of times you do so many things and you are not very aware of what will add value. So it is
Yeah.
always best to, take note, and then a third party insight or brainstorming will always help you to understand or look at your own profile differently. You might think, "Ye kya hai? This is not important at all." And then we say that, no, I think this has a good story. So let's explore it further. So even the questionnaire itself takes around 10 to 15 days if you're doing it very thoroughly.
I was just thinking why this question is being asked. And when you advised me that this particular point, we use it in your application in this way, I was amazed. Oh, this is how the application is built, actually, and this is how this characteristic of myself can be used here.
You interviewed with the top IIMs. What was the interview experience like, and what went into the preparation?
Interview experience were good. The interviews were kind of different for all the three. My first interview was IMA, and it was about myself, my work experience, which clients I've worked with, and then they tried to ask some general awareness questions. It was a good interview, so I really enjoyed it. Interview was focused more on your skills in mathematics and if you have a good general awareness. So that was a small difference between the two. And for IIM Bangalore, they were very much focused on my work experience. That they were checking if I know ins and outs, everything about what I've done in the past. These were the three differences.
And for the future applicants, what would be your tips or suggestions for them?
They had guided me that this is the direction which IIM's interview goes, IIMC's interview goes. So since you know that there is a very less chance of getting surprised, you are much more confident before the interview and during the interview. And that really helps me. Keeping yourself calm during the interview, I think that is the most important thing for you to crack an interview.
Preparation adds to your confidence.
Yes. But what to prepare, that is important. I would say that while I was searching for MBA consultant, I saw your videos on YouTube. I really liked the way you talk, and it showed that you know what you're doing. Doing your research and building that confidence that, okay, this is the person who can really help me. That is really important. So I went on to Quora. There was very good feedback for you. YouTube videos help me. This is actually how the person is, how they work. So having that confidence and going for a good professional help is a must.